Hey everyone, this is CricketSong with Uner Wisdom, and you're watching another episode of Wyrds, Witches, Witchcraft. And I'm here with my usual co-host, Obsidian Fire. Say hello.
Hello, bonjour tout le monde. Pour une fois, je ne suis pas complètement dans le cirage parce que ce n'est pas très tôt le matin. C'est une émission préenregistrée cette fois à cause du décalage horaire, été, hiver, tout ça. Bref, donc on préenregistre pour pas que j'ai besoin de me lever très tôt, bien avant le soleil. Donc j'espère que ça vous plaira quand même.
Yay! Well, I don't know what she said, but what she said. What she said. Tonight, we don't have a guest, but we are going to be talking about the art of casting spells, or the art of spell casting. In our little series here, we have a few little series going on the show where we talk about different things. And this one is the art of, and we cover some sort of topic. So right now we're going to be, her and I are going to be discussing this. And if you're watching this, even though it is being broadcast at our usual time of 8:30 Eastern Pacific Standard Time, we are actually doing this as a pre-recorded show because France has not done daylight savings yet.
No.
So if we were to do it live, it'd be extremely early in the morning for Obsidian. So we're not doing that. Next week, I will be live per usual, but without Obsidian. I'll have a guest. We're talking about Bettina. We're talking with Bettina, not about Bettina, but I'm talking with Bettina about, I think it's about like, not everybody should be a tarot reader, or there was an article going around, and that kind of inspired our discussion we're going to have next week. And then the week after that will be at our usual time, usual setup, and all that good shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, well, for now, for this next 57 minutes, we're going to be talking about the art of casting spells. So I guess, Obsidian and I, we were talking about just a few minutes ago before we went live, or pre-recorded live, about how we wanted to start this. And I'd like to start with her and I discussing how we define what a spell is. And I think we're both on the same page with this, but I want her to, explain how she understands a spell, and I can share how I understand a spell, and if it is the same or different from magic. Is every magical working a spell? Is every spell a magical working? So how would you define a spell?
Well, let's hope my English will be good enough for me to enter into details, because I don't think so, but I will try, and you will, I think, understand what I want to express and correct me or add something if you see that I'm getting in a mess.
Okay.
So for me, not every magical work is a spell. Because there is, let's say, for me, a ritual isn't necessarily a spell, even if it's a magical work. I will work with energy during a ritual, let's say Ostara, for example, an Ostara ritual. I will work with energy and gather energy, building energy, but I won't cast a spell necessarily. It's gonna be tricky for me to explain better the difference I put into that, just because of the barrier of language. I'm not good enough.
Well, I don't even think it's just language that's a barrier, that's a challenge here, because as you're speaking, I agree with you. And I'm like, okay, so how would I explain that? And I'm not even sure how to articulate.
Well, let's say when I'm doing a ritual, even if it's for a Sabbath, or if it's to celebrate something particular, I am building up energy, yep, but I don't intend to focus this energy to manifest something into my reality. I'm just gathering energy, or building up, or setting up a warding, or anything else like that. Like you are constructing an object in the real world. You are putting energy in some place, but I don't design this energy to accomplish something for me. I'm just putting it up around and gathering up, and that's it. I don't intend that to go accomplish something. For me, this is the difference. When I'm casting a spell, I want my will to manifest, and I'm using magic for that through a spell, which
Right.
in my head isn't the same thing at all.
Yeah, I think that for me, I think it's very subtle because I'm thinking, okay, how do so I have to break this down so that I can try to like articulate it, right? So
Yeah.
magic, so how I define magic is Aleister Crowley's definition of manipulating will and emotions and energy in order to bring about a change within my reality, whether it's shared reality or whether it's in my personal reality. So that's magic. And when I'm casting a spell, I'm obviously utilizing magic. So I do think every spell is a form of magic, but I would agree that every magical working isn't a spell. So what's the difference in that? So then I think, okay, so a spell, how would I, all right, when I look at a spell, there's like steps. It's formulated. It uses ingredients or correspondences, and it's used to make a change, which is why it is a form of magic. It makes a change. It would have a target. My spells always have a target, whether it's myself, whether it's an object, if I'm going to enchant something, although maybe enchanting might not be a spell. Well, I guess it depends on how you're going to do an enchanting of something or how I'm going to, because I think you can do it in just a magical working, but I also think you can use a spell to enchant something. So I guess maybe a spell is a very ritualistic way or a very formulated way to work magic, where, like you said, I feel like casting a circle is a magical working, but I wouldn't say casting a circle is a spell.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Totally. I agree. Totally. I think it rejoined the idea was expressing, like gathering energy isn't exactly the same thing as focusing this same energy to accomplish something.
Although when you're gathering that energy, you're gathering it for a purpose. So maybe both a magical working and a spell have a purpose.
Yes, both. But in one case, I don't send that out.
Okay.
Just use that around me when I'm casting a smell. When I'm casting a smell, sure, a spell. Gosh. I'm sending out energy to accomplish something.
Maybe it's that target
reality, just as you said.
Yeah.
But when I'm just protecting the house or something like this, it's just there. I don't projecting it out. You see, it's just around me. I'm gathering. It's more like putting a cloth around you, cloth of energy, and that's it. And
I guess from my perspective, I guess you could do that in a spell form too.
Yes,
like I guess you could do, like I said with enchanting. I mean, you could do that, and you know what? We can refer back to our conversation with Cole and creating a servitor, where you could do it in a spell way, where you could construct a servitor using spell crafting. But I also think you could do it as just a magical working.
Yes, and you can even do that without knowing you are doing that.
Right. Right. I think it works better if you're doing it purposefully, obviously. Yeah. So, and I think I would actually even say those people who are creating it and constructing it and crafting it without understanding what they're doing are still doing a form of magic, using the definition that Crowley's Crowley's definition, when it's manipulating that energies. So I guess, so, all right. So for the purpose of this conversation, I'm just going to define a spell for me as a form of magic where you have a target, a specific target, and you're sending that energy, that will, that emotions, using correspondences, raising the power, siphoning the power, gathering the power, and propelling it towards a target. So that's how I'm going to define a spell for this. So as Obsidian and I have said, we agree that all magical workings are not necessarily spells. But it doesn't mean that they're less powerful. We're just trying to put some sort of structure on our conversation because we want to talk about spell casting, casting spells, and how this sort of works for us and how we approach what our philosophies are, what our thoughts are, what our feelings are, maybe even the sort of things that we would, which we kind of touched on already, the things that we would do spells for, and maybe even things we might just do a magical working for, or some things that we might not even consider, doing magic for at all, if there are any. And I want to say, at least for me, I'm not judging anybody else's magic. I would never say, don't do anything for that. If you feel that it's important for you, then it's important for you. It doesn't mean I'd do the same thing, or maybe I would, who knows? But I'm not here to judge another witch's magic. So when you, Obsidian, for you, when you find that you are in a situation where you feel like you magically, you're going to address this in a magical sense, how do you decide whether or not you're going to do a spell? Yeah.
Well, I will contemplate first the idea of doing something, because I personally think that casting a spell in the heat of the moment could be disastrous. So it's not, in my opinion, it's not a good idea to, when you're angry by something, or to just rush to your altar or any other place you done your magic in, run to your altar and cast your spell in a wave of angriness. It's not a good idea. So the first thing I would do is take some time to think about it. Does it really need to be addressed by a spell, with a spell? And I will take my time to really decide if, I will do, or, well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's not necessary. So the first thing, always, almost always, I will contemplate the idea of, will I do that or not?
Yeah, I agree. I do see a benefit in harnessing that particular emotional energy, but I think the wisest, not everybody uses some, I don't even follow the wisest, but I think the wisest time is, to take that energy. Say you are angry at something and you feel compelled to run to your altar to do something about it magically because, oh my gods, how could this person do this? And oh my God, I can't believe it. Well, siphon that energy into something so that then you can use it later if you do decide to do this spell when you are not in the heat of that moment, but you still have that energy that you've sort of sent into some sort of battery that then you can call it forth later. I think that can be helpful because that's very powerful.
Oh, yes, it is. There is a time to call this specific energy back to you.
Yeah.
If you decide, though, yeah, I will do that, then don't worry. When you will be in front of your gathering all of the pieces of your spell, you will find again this wave of emotions that put you there.
Yeah, I think that works for happiness. I don't think we maybe consider it so much, but I think there's that, wonderful, overly, joyful energy that can be just as powerful too.
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We tend to refer to angriness, but it's not the only emotion, powerful emotion.
Yeah.
There is different. Sadness can be.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. All human emotions. I think if you delve into that and explore it, can be a fuel for propelling your manifestation forward. I mean, that's the whole concept behind the gratitude journals and building that momentum of that energy, of that intention towards manifestation and using that. And these spells that we cast are, helping build the momentum and send forth that energy towards manifestation. I mean, I think that's why spells were why we use them, to help us. I mean, we talk about following in the mundane, doing in the mundane world what you need to, and magic helps it. Magic follows the path of least resistance. We've all heard that, and if we're working towards it, if we're doing the work, the mundane work, towards whatever it is we want, then magic is going to flow and move forward in that same direction,
Yeah.
So I would suggest, as we're looking at how we're going to, if we're contemplating whether or not we want to do a spell for an intention, if it's something we truly desire, are our mundane actions in alignment with that intention? So, I mean, I'm going to use an example. I know it's used quite frequently, but we want a job. Right now, we find we're unemployed and we need a job. We want a job to get income into the home so that we can pay our bills. Okay. And I've decided I am going to do a spell to help me with that. Okay. But am I still looking? Am I putting out resumes? Am I putting in applications? Am I job searching? Am I doing the mundane work? Or am I just sitting in front of Netflix watching repeated of, Stranger Things season 1, getting ready for season 3? Am I just binge watching Stranger Things and not doing the mundane work towards getting a job? Well, then any magical working I'm doing is going to be difficult for it to manifest because all my other mundane actions are sitting on the sofa, binge watching Stranger Things, which is far from trying to get an actual job to pay for Netflix,
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I would say in this specific example, staying in front of Netflix would work against the spell you've just casted, because, well, looking at the action taken, there is no. So where's the energy to propel your spell? There is no. No. If you are sitting just sitting there, maybe you don't want that much to find a job, and then maybe you're just deconstructing your spell energy, because maybe you weren't so into the momentum. Maybe your true will wasn't to find a job. So by looking at your action, the action, the real mundane action you take, you can tell if you are really aligned with the intention of your spell. And if you're not, just get it out. It's useless.
Right, exactly. I feel like, I mean, if it, and again, I know we've talked about this numerous times, is knowing yourself, knowing maybe you're not ready. Maybe you're just, maybe you intellectually know you need to get a job, and you intellectually know you need to make money to pay for Netflix. But you're just, at that moment, you just don't care. And you know what? I mean, that's things like that happen. It's, we go through slumps, not just magical slumps, but
every
mundane.
time. Yeah, of course, it's not bad things, or I don't put any blame while telling that. We all know what it is to be this way, to be just to lack any will or energy about something, or about several things for that matters. So it's not a blame, it's just a fact. And to help yourself getting out of this slump, you need to acknowledge this fact.
Yeah, maybe that's when that magical practitioner should do some magical workings to help themselves uncover maybe why intellectually they know that they should be looking for a job, but everything else within them is just not, they're not able to. And maybe uncovering a fear or a concern or a worry would be helpful. And then facing that first, then finding yourself, going out and doing what you need to do, shutting off Netflix and saying, I'll watch it tonight, and going to put in a few applications or go on to a few websites and submit resumes will get you more in alignment with a magical working that then might be able to help you find a job. But keeping and building that momentum and working with that energy and going with the flow would be more helpful than doing the Netflix thing, getting up, going to your altar, casting your spell. Even if you're really into the spell, even if you think you wrote a great spell or you found a wonderful spell, and then you're psh, 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 doing everything, and poof, and you cast this wonderful spell, and then you go back and sit and binge watch season 2 of Stranger Things. It's just, I feel like even that isn't really going to help you. It's almost like you're stuck in the mud. You hop out and you go do what you need to do, and then you hop right back in that mud pit. The magic isn't really going to go anywhere.
No,
this intention is just going to sit there.
Gotta be stagnant.
Yeah,
because you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, and again, it's not a blame. It's just we need the person who is binge watching season 2 of Stranger Things needs to acknowledge that in order to find a way to feel better, to be in a better place inside, and then he or she could accomplish another thing. But first, know yourself. I don't think, again, it's only my opinion, but I don't think we can change that much our reality without doing anything in the mundane to join this energy, to sustain this energy.
I think you and I have said in the past that there's a possibility. It's just nobody here in our modern society, in this particular time, in this particular plane, in this particular vibration, that I haven't met anybody evolved enough to be able to do something like that. I believe that there are people that could, but
Probably
not here, not now. Not here, not now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think so. So for the normal us, we should take some work, some magical work, as
Yeah.
you said, personal work, psychological work.
Yeah, yeah, because I think a lot of our, especially if you identify as witch or magician or sorcerer or enchantress or whatever word you use to describe yourself, if you're a magical practitioner, a lot of that psychological work, shadow work, contemplation work, visualization, meditations, all those types of like non-physical work that we do is still work. It's still energy in movement, in action, that will prepare us for the spell casting, if
Yeah.
that's what we practice within our craft.
Yeah.
I think all that is still work. It's all energy,
Sure.
movement. So
For
what other
sure.
sort of preparation do you do for yourself prior to the actual, going in front of the altar and casting? Contemplation, trying to decide if
Yeah.
that's something that you're going to do. Obviously, that's step one. And you've decided, okay, yes, this is in alignment with my true will or what I need to do. And I'm doing mundane things towards this action. What other
Mhm.
sort of preparation do you do for yourself?
Well, usually, even if I decided that I will cast, I will go to my oracle or maybe my dosing rods and have a bit of a conversation with my spiritual eyes and guides and all, just to see if there is something I should know or I should contemplate more or anything that would be beneficial for me to know or to contemplate twice. So
Yeah.
I will go to some sort of divination to go through the question again to be sure. And
Yeah.
then when that's done, I will start to prepare the mundane work for the casting.
Yeah, I agree. I
To,
do similar things.
to
Yeah, that
divination.
yeah, that divination is a important step for me as well. So like, because I've had situations where I'm like, yeah, and I think I've even talked with you before, and we've sat down and then been like, well, let's pull some cards, or let's take a look at that, or maybe I should consider XYZ before. And then I'll decide that it's not the right time, like not right now. Yes, this is something I want to consider, but this needs to happen first
Mhm.
before I do anything more. Because it might not be the right time for that, but it is coming, just not right now.
Yeah. And that could be useful to consider, and that led time to achieve another sort of work, of magic work on yourself, on your siblings, or anything. So, yeah. So, let's say everything goes in the same direction and I will cast. So then I will, I think it's obvious, but maybe it's not. So, I think I will say it anyway. I will prepare. I will start to, okay, so what my intentions are and how can I align the correspondences to this intention. And I will take notes on my magical working book, if I can. I don't know how to call it, so let's say it's a practical book of magic. And I will wrote it down what, and say I will use herbs. So what herbs will I use and why? How will I choose the correspondences? Will I use planetary magic or not? And if I do, when day, what hour, and all this stuff, I will start to write down everything for it to be aligned with what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, me too. Like I will look at day. I don't tend, well, I look at day and moon phase. I don't tend to look at the hour, but like if it's some Saturday, Sunday, you know, the day of the week, and then I'll try to get a good moon phase that falls with that. But sometimes, you know, if you want a full moon on a Thursday and this month the full moon is on a Sunday, then I decide which one I'm going to go with if I feel like I need to do
Sure.
it now. But I like moon
There is
phases are
choices to
big
make.
for me. Huh?
There is choices to make, and
There
that's part
are.
of the preparation. You can't
Exactly.
have anything you need for dark moon on a Saturday. Oh yeah, cool, but that's not really often, you know. So you need to choose. Would you work with the planetary magic on a Saturday with Saturn, or will you go for the dark moon alone?
Right. A lot of the things I find that can overlap, like, you know, the energies you might use on Saturday on a dark moon may still work on a different day of the week. You know, I guess
Absolutely.
and obviously this is all going to come down to the individual witch.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
depends on you, us. What do you feel? What do you think gonna work the best? What makes sense for you?
Right.
That should lead your choice in
Right.
such moments where you have to choose. It's the same thing with herbs when you or
Mhm.
with anything, because there is no just one herbs to do banishing.
Right.
Okay, so one Saturday banishing. Let's guess what I have in mind.
You know, and that's why when I like using, okay, so for me, you'll find, or anybody that, I mean, I have a series coming up, Practical
Mhm.
Witchcraft, and we're going to go, I'm going to go through 36 different spells in one a week. So you're going to find when you watch that, if you watch that,
I'm sorry.
well, not you, but anybody watching here, um, smell, aroma, incense, burning herbs, you know, loose herbs
Mhm.
is a big part of my spells. I
Me
would
too.
venture to say that every single spell I cast has some sort of incense, some sort of
Me too.
smell.
Me
Because
too.
smell for me, it's my sight. Uh, I've been wearing glasses since I was in the third grade. So what is that, like 8 or 9? So my sight has always sort of been deteriorating. So I don't depend on my sight, but my sense of smell, I can smell when something is rotten. You know, when I work with spirits, my grandmother shows up, I smell her cigarettes and her hand lotion. You know, scent is so important for me. So my craft, my spells, my witchcraft, scent can easily work it for me.
Mhm.
So herbs are important. So I find that, you know, if I like rosemary, I can use for multiple things. So my
Mhm.
herbal collection isn't large, but I have a number of herbs that can be used for more than one thing in my
Function.
own craft, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, totally. I'm the same. And I'm working kind of on the same way. Do I'm using a lot of herbs, and incense
Yes.
is almost always a part
See?
of whatever I do. I'm choosing carefully what herbs I'm gonna use and crushing it, and imbue the mixture, and then putting it on the charcoal.
Yep. Yep.
Sure. And yeah, cauldron, incense,
Yes.
pentacle,
Yes.
all
Yes.
this is central. Central.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. You know, for those of you watching, I haven't seen Obsidian do magic in person. I don't even
Mhm.
think we've done anything live
No.
together um, in person on camera, but I'm
Mhm.
sure we have done. But that's
Yeah, I
uh,
think so.
yeah. But the fact that I hear her talking about this and we share very similar practices without realizing unless we talk about it, it shows, I think, why the show works as well as it does, in my opinion.
Yeah, in mine too, but it's just
Yeah, so if you're watching this, please let us know, because obviously we don't have chat going on because this is nobody's watching while we're recording it. Let us know, like, do you use a lot of scent in yours? How many witches out there watching this are similar with incense and burning? I mean, I will in a pinch use stick incense or cone incense if I don't have the ability, if I ran out of charcoal discs, or I don't have access to loose herbs to burn it on the charcoal. I have in the past, had a little fire outside in the yard when we lived in Massachusetts, and we would just throw the herbs into the campfire and actually allow that to permeate the area with the energy of a particular herb or herbal mix is usually what I do. But how many of you out there do a similar thing with burning herbs? I mean, I don't know about you, Obsidian, but I tend to burn them more than put them in a pouch, or I do dream pillows, but I tend to burn them more and release the scent and the energies that way than just hold them in something. What about you?
Same.
Yeah. Okay.
Most of
Well,
the time.
fire, right?
Yeah, fire. I was about to say that. Okay, look at my name. Fire.
Fire.
Everything burns with me.
Yeah.
Everything burns. Everything. Starting with the herbs.
Right.
Yeah, I'm burning a lot. But sometimes I use it in a charm bag.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but usually it's really specific herbs that I use to craft charm bag.
Right.
I tend to go for this kind of the same mix. Because like you, the herbs I use, and like every herbs I suppose, has many possibility to be employed, to be used. There is rarely just one way to go with one herb.
Right.
You will find your case of prosperity, fertility, and success, and and you can choose. So with a few subtle change, you can have a different mixture you can use for different purpose.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I tend to burn it.
Yeah.
Burn it all.
So with our casting, so we've done the contemplation, we've done some divination, we've then decided, the correspondences we're going to use. How do you, I don't know, for you, how you decide, are you going to make a charm bag? Are you going to craft a sigil? Are you going to do a puppet? Are you going to do candle magic? How do you decide what it is you're going to do for, whatever it is that you're saying? For the example, we'll go back to our Netflix Stranger Things binge watching individual who wants a job or is looking for employment. How do you then decide how you're going to approach the spell?
I suppose because I am someone who works a lot with emotion and intuition. So I will follow my intuition, my instinct to choose whatever form of spell casting I will use on a specific subject. So it's difficult for me to put it in a rational way. Then with a chart, a little check there and a little check there means that I'm gonna use a candle. No, I'm not someone who works like that. I will follow my instinct most of the time. So difficult to enter into details, but let's say that if I were to help the Netflix watcher, so first I will probably stole the remote and sorry. First, yeah, I suppose I would go for candle magic in this case.
Yeah.
I suppose because it needs to the energy needs to be freed. So I won't get that energy trapped into a bag. It needs to, you know, circulate to go freely. So I don't think I would use a charm bag for this one.
Mm.
But you see, it's just how I feel.
Yeah. No,
It's
I
not, it's,
understand.
it's not. There is no chart for me to decide.
Yeah.
See how I do feel the energy and the purpose, and how does the spell casting I'm planning to will fit with that. And if it makes sense for me, then I will go with that.
Yeah.
Mm,
That makes sense
sorry.
to me too. No, no, that makes sense. I think when I think about what I'm going to do, for example, for the looking for a job, I don't have one spell or one way of approaching it. I when I look back at my book of spells or my grimoire or my book of shadows or whatever you want to call it, I'll have, like, okay, prosperity. I'll have like 5 or 6 different ways of doing the one intention. And I like,
Yeah.
as you say, I think it depends on, is it for me? And when I did a prosperity spell 5 years ago, maybe at that time I was doing a lot of candle magic. That's where my momentum was. Maybe it was all about
Mhm.
color and candles. And then maybe the next year, if I needed a prosperity spell, it was all about I don't know, trees. So maybe I was working with tree energy. So I went out and planted a tree with my intention in the roots, and maybe that was the spell. I look at the different things that are going on in my life at that time, and what my focus is, and what I've been working with in my mundane life, what's attractive to me, maybe what books I'm reading, what people I'm interacting with, how I'm being influenced. And instead of working against that, I will work with it, with that momentum. And an example of this is we were talking about sigils with
I
Cole.
was
And
sure you
prior
were.
to that, you and I were talking about sigils even before that.
Yeah.
And I had been drawing or just sketching or doodling little things while I would be talking to people. So I noticed that sigils came up, sigils came up, sigils came up. So then I find that if I'm doing magic lately, sigils are a big part of it.
Mhm.
But maybe 5 months ago, I wasn't even thinking about sigils.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. So I think it's the feeling of where the energy is going. If it's been raining out here, Seattle, it rains a lot, then maybe a lot of my magic might be with water. Maybe that's what's around me, or things of that sort. So for me, it changes depending on what I'm being influenced by in my mundane life.
Sure. I suppose we are all kind of like that. I
Yeah.
suppose. It's about going with the flow.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense to me. I mean, if you're working with the energies in your environment. So, I mean, like, so if you're someone, not you specifically, Obsidian, but you watching, I mean, if it's summertime where you are when you're watching this, and you're camping a lot or you're doing bonfires. I know I have friends out there in Massachusetts who have fire pits in their backyard. And in the nice weather, they're out there every night at their fire pit. So then maybe their magic in the summertime at the fire pit is going to be different than their magic in the winter because they're not outside. And I think that if you find, or maybe you're in Florida where it's super hot in the summer, so you're never outside, you're inside in the AC. So then, you know, your magic may be different from season to season, or, you know.
Sure. For me it is. For me it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
It's
it's
always
snowy in the wintertime for you.
yes. So it's freezing and it's really cold, so I can't go outside. And I mean, yeah, sure I can, but I don't want to freeze. Okay, so it's gonna be difficult to wave anything with frozen
Right.
fingers.
Well, that makes
So
sense too.
yeah, so I won't be outside. I will work inside, and sometimes even if the weather is with me, maybe I prefer to stay in an intimate
Mm-hmm.
place where I can be totally alone and in silence to work. And then outside wouldn't be a nice place for me to be
Right.
in this specific, you know, circumstances.
Yeah.
So it changes
Yeah.
always.
For any witch that lives in a city, in an urban setting, if you live in an apartment or a flat or something of that sort, where it's difficult for you to, you know, have a space, maybe you have roommates.
Yeah,
So maybe that's going to affect the way that you decide to cast a spell.
of course.
Maybe a lot of your magic might just be chanting, or creating something. um I guess my brain is like firing all these different ideas. When I sit down and I think of a spell and I think of what it is that I want to manifest, um I think of some sort of action that I can do in my spell crafting. So if I want to imbue something like for myself, so say, I don't know, like an intangible thing, like knowledge, or um, self-confidence, or I want to bring something, or self-love, I want to
Mhm.
bring something into me, then I'm like, okay, what could I do, like a physical representation of that? Oh, maybe I would, wrap myself up in a blanket, maybe give myself a hug, or look at a reflection of myself, and talk to myself. So what's a better envisioning of me telling me something,
Yeah,
or drinking something, imbuing a glass of water or a glass of wine or juice or whatever, some sort of correspondence, and then taking that inside.
yeah,
Things like
absolutely.
that. Or if I want to get rid of something, I want to vomit something up. I mean, that's pretty visceral. But if there
Sure.
is something that I would want to do where I feel like there's something within me that I want to get rid of, I mean,
Hmm.
some sort of action that would do that. For me, I find that it takes this ethereal concept that I want to manifest and actually brings it into a manifestation.
Hmm.
Um,
Makes
so I
sense.
try to work something like that in, which why right now the sigils are very, for me, do that. There's a physical representation of what I want to manifest.
Hmm.
So that's part of the construction, deciding if you're going to do a candle magic, or deciding if you're going to do a sigil, or what correspondences you're going to use. So you can do, I don't know, I've done combinations of a candle magic with
Sure, me too.
something else
Sure.
too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Candle
I
magic is so easy to incorporate with
yes,
so many
maybe
different
there is.
things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's almost always a candle too.
Yeah, yeah.
There's incense, and there's one or several candles most of the time. Whatever I do.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I usually there's candles on the altar, but
Yeah,
sometimes they're
sure.
not necessarily part of the spell itself. But
So it's a representation.
incense as always. Even
Yeah,
even if it's not a spell and it's just a magical working, there's still
always.
incense.
Me
Yeah.
too. Always. even when I'm using my dosing rods, I put some.
I know, right? You got to have that
And a candle.
So we only have about 10 minutes left. This time is flying by even without chat. A couple of things. If you've decided, viewers, subscribers, if you're watching this and you'd like us to do like another one about spells in general, and there's specific topics we weren't able to cover, please let us know in the comments or send me a message. But a couple of things I was curious for you. Do you always have an incantation when you cast a spell?
Not always, but most of the time I do, but not always. And even if I don't, I found myself chanting something spontaneously when I am doing the spell. There is some sort of incantation taking part, even if it wasn't in the plan. Usually I do.
Is it usually in French?
No, not necessarily.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, sometimes it is, but this last month as I found myself chanting in a different language.
Oh, altogether, not even English.
No.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, for me, for spells, they're always, wait, before I even, yeah, I want to make sure I'm not lying. I would say 98% of the time there's an incantation. There may be 2% or 1% of the time that there isn't, but I was gonna say always, but I may have had done 1 or 2 spells that didn't have an incantation. But for me, because I truly believe words hold power, and my whole philosophy behind that, I definitely have something that I'm saying, and my spells generally rhyme. 99% of the time they rhyme. There's probably 1% that they don't. And generally they're spoken in English. If there is ever a channeling thing going on, that's in addition. So if I have a channeling where different words are spoken, it's in conjunction with the actual incantation that I've planned to say. And I write them out. That's part of my spell construction, because it's focus and it's taking time to put more energy into and even if I find inspiration with, a Scott Cunningham spell or something, or someone else inspired me, I'll change it up. I'll change it up and change the incantation anyway.
I don't think I had ever just repeat an incantation I've read or something like this. Nah. Because I feel it's not coming from me. But I am the one who's casting. So the incantation needs to be from me.
I'll use phrases like from another, I can't remember now. It's changed over the years, but I might use, I'm like, oh, look at that those 2 phrases that rhyme. Like, I think one of them was, in this hour and with this power. Oh, I'm like, I'm going to incorporate that in mine, or in this ancient time with this rhyme, or something. I'll use snippets from other people and then build on that. Because sometimes, if you're trying to rhyme some things, man, it's just hard, difficult sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, so that was one of the questions. And the other question I really wanted to get out before we ran out of time, we're at 6 minutes now. Is there ever a time where or I could just say, would you cast a spell on the behalf of someone else? I know this gets into ethics. And like I said, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just curious. Would you cast a spell for me? If I said, hey, Obsidian, I'm doing this thing. Would you cast a spell for me with this intention?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about if it wasn't me per se? What if it was just someone else? Is there...
If it wasn't you, it would be different.
Yeah. Do you have a hard, fast rule? Like, I know at one time in my life, I would say, no, I don't cast spells for anybody else. ever. But that's changed, you know.
Yeah, I'm trying not to be too much into white or too much into black, because I know life is made of gray.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to be harsh on some point, but I'm not fond of casting for someone else. But I found myself casting on someone else's behalf. So I guess it's possible, and I've done it a couple of times, but it depends for who.
Yeah.
Who is the person? Is this person is literally asking to me? If it's the case, then this person better be a really close friend
Yeah.
for me to act. And yeah, and one time, I think just one time, I found myself asking someone, if you want, I can cast something for you. One time to one person, and it didn't went right.
Yeah.
So I don't think I will do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. I at one time I would say I would never cast on someone else's behalf. And then it shifted to, especially when we would do coven workings, obviously we would cast spells for individuals within the coven because we were all, you know, the idea was we were one entity. And now it depends on the person, it depends on the purpose.
Yes.
It depends on, am I just trying to nudge something or influence something that's already going in a certain direction and I'm just kind of like giving it a little, or am I looking to really change everything? And did this person ask me? Am I taking it on of my own observations? And who am I to? I mean, it depends on so many different things, and what's going on. And I can't say yes or no at this point. My general rule of thumb is I won't. That's my fallback. If I'm in doubt, then I'll be like, no. If I think maybe I shouldn't, then I just won't. But there are certain circumstances where I'm like, yeah, no, this can't be happening, especially when it's influencing or affecting my life, you know.
Yeah.
If someone has, and I am not going to say that if you anyone out there, you're going to fuck with me. Gonna
That's
get
a
fucked
wrong
with.
idea.
Yeah.
That's a really wrong idea.
Yeah. Don't fuck
You should
with
not.
me.
Just
Yeah.
advice.
Don't fuck with me. Because I think at that point, someone has directly, I think self-defense, psychic self-defense, magical self-defense. I mean, ideally, I would like not to be in that situation where I would have to defend myself. Generally, I feel like I've done enough so that there is sort of a barrier so that won't happen, or I treat people well enough where retaliation wouldn't be in someone's first thought. But you never know. Some people, you could treat them the best way you think you're treating them and doing over and beyond what is expected of you, and they still have a stick up their ass.
Yeah, probably because they are narcissists, maybe.
Maybe. Or they're just bitches. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, or both.
Narcissistic bitch. Maybe. Lord, if you know my past history with my previous landlady, then man, you know how I'm feeling about that. But
oh my God, yeah, she was, and it kind of fall into what we were saying in the beginning of this show. Is for me, it's different. It's different if someone asks me to cast a spell. It is different of someone asking me to, let's say I'm doing Reiki, which I'm not, but let's say, would you please doing a Reiki healing. Okay, that's not the same at all in my eyes. I wouldn't take the question the same way. Magical working with energy might be okay. I could, use energy healing, but I would probably not cast a spell, even if no.
Yeah, see, I don't even know how I mean, I definitely see Reiki. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I am a Reiki master teacher. So Reiki healing, that's a magical working for me, even though other Reiki individuals may not even consider it magic. But I feel as if it's a magical working.
Yeah.
But a spell for healing, I've done a spell for healing in the past with individuals. That's because they asked. So I approach it in a different way. The whole process is different for me.
Sure.
So I mean, I've done both. But even if someone were to ask me for Reiki, I need to do sort of an evaluation beforehand, kind of thing. So I kind of approach it similarly, but the process is different.
Different. And you know why I took this example? Because recently, not a friend, but a mate of mine had trouble. We can say he fell into depression.
Yeah.
And I have another mate who is Reiki healer, and he texted me that if he has done a Reiki healing on this person. Okay. But if it was kind of hey, he needs help, can you do something? No. Because this person, the one who is falling into depression, in my opinion, doesn't want to go out of it. I feel that he doesn't want to. It is, this mood is his defense. So trying to do something is kind of a waste of energy because it doesn't want to feel better.
Right.
So I won't waste my time nor my energy. So I didn't tell that yet to my mate, the Reiki one, but I will, because okay, the Reiki science has been kind of nice, we may say, the day after the guy was feeling better, but I've seen him today.
Yeah.
Goes back to square one.
Right.
So I think I will have a talk with the healer. He's wasting his time.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't answer to the little, nudge. He's not feeling well. Yeah, I know. And that's it. Yeah, I know.
Right. So that brings us to our time. It's been an hour. So if you that have been watching are interested in us continuing a conversation about spell casting, the craft of spell casting, please leave us comments or send me a message. And next week, I will be speaking with Bettina about, should everyone be reading tarot or be a tarot reader or something like that. So that's our usual time at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. And the following week, Obsidian and I will be back. And I think we're talking to Aaron. I think we're doing readings with Aaron the following week. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Obsidian's going to say good night to you all.
Yeah, Obsidian's going to say some shit in French. Merci à tous de nous avoir suivis. Donc la semaine prochaine, je ne serai pas là, comme CricketSong vous l'a dit. On se retrouve encore la semaine d'après. Si vous n'en avez pas marre, en espérant que ce ne soit pas le cas. Voilà, à la prochaine. Bye bye.
Good night, everyone. See you next week. I love you. Mwah. Blessed be.